Today we will be starting with React Redux. Okay, you can see the browser screen, right? So here I am sharing a picture. Okay, so even we can take this example or we can take up this example. Okay, so first let's understand why are we going for React Redux, right? So you guys might knowing what is the difficulty we feel in React, right? So in React, when we want to share a data or when we make changes to any of the data, it has to reflect wherever we have used it, right? So let's imagine I want to share a data to unrelated components, right? So how do we share the data to unrelated components? We can have a localization. From there we can share a data. Okay, let me just share one more picture and show you. This example explains itself, right? So here you can see without Redux and with Redux. Okay, so let's imagine we have a data over here in this. So here you can see, okay, without Redux what happens and with Redux what will happen, right? So without Redux, let's imagine we have a data over here, okay? And this component needs that data. So how do we share that data? So we have to lift the state up here, here, and then keep the data over here and then share it to this component, right? Same with this component. If this component needs a data from this component, then lift the state up and share the data to this component, and it comes here and share it to this component, right? But with Redux, what we can do, we can keep a data in one store, and whoever is asking for that data, you can take it from store. Okay, now let's say suppose this component shares the data to this store, right? So this component, or let's imagine any other component, is taking that data, and that components, if they are making changes to the data, so it will be in the same store, right? So it will be reflected everywhere, right? So that is the reason we are going for Redux. Okay, in Redux we have a lot of syntactical things. Okay, we need to follow many procedures over there to implement Redux. Okay, so Redux is a separate library. Redux is a separate library. It is an individual library. It is not only meant for React. You can use this Redux even in Angular or any other libraries as well. Okay. So here in Redux, we have three things. Okay. So we have a action, we have a reducer, and we have a store. Okay, so Redux will store and manage all your application state, right? So whenever there is a changes to your application state, Redux will know about it. Okay, and here in Redux, as I said, we have three things, that is action, reducer, and store. So store will hold the state of your application, and action will describe what changes need to be taken on those state of the application. Reducer will take action and state as a parameter, okay, and it will give you the new updated state. That's a reducer. Okay, so now here you can see this image, right? Now let's imagine we have this UI. Okay, so in this UI, let's imagine we have a button. Okay, so button to add a product in the product list. Let's imagine. So what we will do when we click on that button, as soon as you click on the button, okay, what action you're taking, this action will come to know about, right? So the action can be add product, right? So here you will be dispatching an action, okay? So that action and the state reducer will be taking. So it will take reducer and the action, okay, and it will perform that action, and after that whatever updated state you will be getting, that will be given to store. Okay, so see, it's kind of a filter. Here you can see, right, it's kind of a filter. So it will take a action and a state as a parameter, and it will return a new updated state to a store. Then this store will give the updated data to the UI. Okay, so this is how it happens. So here you have a clear picture again. So you have a view, you'll be dispatching an action, right? On click of something, on change of something, then this action will be given to reducer. Reducer will have a state, okay, current state and action. It will perform some operation and then it will give a new updated state to store. Okay, view will be subscribing to the store so that it will get the updated state. Okay, so this is how it works. So now let's go ahead and install two libraries. Let me check in package.json file. So now let's see whether I have a Redux. I think I do not have it, so I can install it. Okay, so as soon as you see the first example, okay, you can start implementing Redux in your application also, the hotel application which you guys have developed. So we will be working with methods like dispatch method, subscribe method, get state method. Okay, so these kind of methods will be using connect method. Now here, as we have installed this Redux and React Redux. Okay, so I'll show you one simple example first. Let's imagine I want to change the state of the application. Okay, so let's say I just want to change name. Okay, so I have a state, I want to change a name. So how will we do that? We'll be having some on click. Okay, and we will have set state method, or if you're using use statehood, then you'll have that function to change the state, right? So let's do that using Redux. So okay, so I will not keep the data over here. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll get the data from the store itself. Okay, so what I want to do is, first of all, I want to show the name, okay, or I want to show the data. Second is I want to change the data. So let me do one thing. Let me have reducers folder inside this only. Inside that, I'll create a file called reducer dot. I'll make it more simpler so that you guys can understand it. So now here, so what action does, what store does, and what reducer does, we know it, right? Store will hold the entire application data, okay? So, and in action, we will be specifying what kind of actions we will be taking. It can be add product, it can be delete product, update product, clear product, right? So these kind of actions we can have it. What reducer will do? The reducer will take the initial state and it will take the action and it will give you the updated state. So these three things you keep in mind. So we'll go step by step. Okay, so here only I'll start first. Let me have the initial state. Okay. There will be a confusion whether to start with action or reducer or store, right? So I'll start with this reducer. Okay, so I'll have an initial state here. Then let's say I have a, so for now I'll just keep one data, okay? So you should not get confused. And I will have a reducer, okay? So let's a variable reducer equal to. Now as I said, okay, it will take two parameters, okay? One is the initial state. So I will just write it like this: initial state, state equal to initial state, okay, and the action. It's a good way to keep a copy of the data, right? So you are actually storing initial state into a state variable, okay, a parameter, and then here we will be writing if condition. So what kind of action we will be taking? So my intention is to change the name. Okay. So here I will write if action dot type. I will define the type later on. Okay. So you can consider this as an object. So I'm writing dot, right? So action dot type, if it is equal to, let's say, change data. So we follow like this. So action type should be in a capital letter, change data. And then what do we want to return if it matches? Okay, if it doesn't match, then we can simply return a state. Okay, if it matches, what we need to perform, what do we need to return? So I will return name. Okay, so action dot payload. So we say whatever data we have. Okay, so we call it as a payload. So action dot payload. So we will have an object where we will be writing action dot type, action dot payload. Okay, so this action dot payload will be stored in this name. Okay, and then this name will be updated, right? So this payload I'll be sending it from my component. Okay, so this will be updated. So first of all, I'll use the initial state. Okay, I'll use this name. Then later on, what I'll be doing, I'll take the initial state, I'll take the action. So I will send the action type from my component. I will tell that if it is change data, if my action dot type is change data, okay, you need to update the name, which I will be sending it from my component only. Okay, I'll be sending this payload. Otherwise, if it is not matching, simply return the state. So here, let me export it. Export default reducer. So now our reducer is ready. Okay, so I'll have to give store to the component, right? So what I'll be doing, I'll go to index.js file. Okay, and here I will import few things. One is provider, which will be providing the store. Okay, and I'll be giving a create store method also, wherein I'll pass the reducer and reducer will return the updated state, right? So okay, first let me do that and then I'll explain. So what are the things we want? We want create store, provider, if it gives error. So something comes from Redux, some library comes from React Redux. Okay, and then yeah, we need reducer also, right? So let's do one thing. Now let me use that provider first. Provider will be providing a store, so it's like a prop I'm creating. Okay, so that prop will be available to all of your app component and its child components. So now here, I want to pass the store. I want the updated state every time, right? So what I'll do, see, I'll get the updated state only when type matches. Otherwise, it is returning the initial state only, right? Okay. So what we'll do, we will create a variable, let's say store, and here we'll be making use of that create store. Then we'll pass the reducer. Okay, so create store will take reducer as a parameter. Keep in mind, create store takes reducer as a parameter. Okay, that you will be storing it in some variable and then passing it here. Whatever reducer will be returning, app will have the data. Okay, so we are done with reducer, we are done with store. Okay, and now how to dispatch an action, right? So that action we will be taking from a component. Okay, so action, and if you want to make use of the data, that also you can do it. So now we have this Redux example. So here I want to have two functions. One will give me the state and the other one will be dispatching the action. Okay. So here I will write const map state to props. Here we'll have to pass the state and then return. So return, let's say name state dot. So here you are storing the value. Map state to props will take state as a parameter. Okay, and it will give you the name. Okay, that you're storing it. Okay, so this state it takes as a parameter. So now we'll have another method. I'll tell you how it works. Dispatch to props. These functions are not, fixed. It's not special functions. Okay, you can rename it to other name also. Okay, but we follow some naming convention so that other developers should also come to know about it. That we are going to subscribe to a store. That is why we are following the same naming convention. So here I will have a dispatch method as a parameter. Okay, and then return. Let's say I want to change the name. Change name. Okay, I will pass the name which I want to change. Okay, so you can consider I'm assigning a function to this change name, right? So I'll take this function and then I'll dispatch an action. So I'll use this dispatch method, dispatch. Okay, now I will tell what is a type and what is my payload. Type, yes, paste it here, comma, I need to have payload also. What will be the payload? Payload is this name only, right? I'll be sending it from a component level. From here I'll be doing that. So now these functions are done. So this will give you the data. This will be dispatching the action, right? So now we have one more method called connect. So what is this connect method will do? Connect method will connect with a store. Okay, it's like a subscribing to a store. So this connect method takes two parameters. Okay, one is this function map state to props and map dispatch to props. Now say suppose you don't want to get data. Okay, you only want to dispatch an action, right? You only want to delete something. You don't want to have the data over here. So what you'll be doing, you will not be creating this function. But connect takes two parameters. That is must. So in case if this thing is missing, then you can write null instead of the function name. Okay. So first of all, I'll write connect over here. Okay. So this is a syntax, guys. Connect. Okay. So this is how I'll be writing map and map dispatch to props. So now here, as I've passed map state to props, map dispatch to props. Okay, so this will give me the state, this will give me the action, right? So it is holding an action, this is holding a state, right? So now if I want to use this name and change name, I'll be using them as a prop. Okay, so here let me have a paragraph and let's say this dot props dot. First, let's see whether we are getting the name or not. Okay, so I will run this.